Alright, Schlockmeister fans, otherwise known as The Offspring, this is From a Whisper to a Scream. Let's check it out. A woman's being executed. Lawrence Tierney.
Catherine White, in accordance with the laws of the state of Tennessee, you are sentenced to die on this day and at this time by lethal injection.
And die she does. Susan Tyrell was a reporter watching this. She immediately goes to see the deceased's uncle, a librarian.
You shouldn't be here now. The library's closed.
Well, the front door was open, so My name is...
Vincent Price, of course, plays Mr. White.
Mrs. Skip.
He's going to tell her some stories.
That is the face of Stanley Burnside, Oldfield's latest gift to this great big beautiful world.
He tells the story of Stanley Burnside, played by Clu Gallagher, and we see a couple of dreams that Stanley's having, including that of a dead body. In fact, there's a dream within a dream. Stanley lives with his sister in a big old house. Her sister has the rheumatism, so he has to take care of her, and he's not really happy about it. At work, Stanley's kind of obsessed with this new younger woman named Grace, who's not interested in him either. He asks her out.
Would you go out with me tonight?
I don't think so, Stanley.
I sent the flowers, the rose, and that note. For my attention.
She agrees to dinner since he did send her flowers. And then another fantasy sequence, I guess.
I think I could have a cup of coffee.
After she rejects his advances, he chokes her to death.
We can't let a little thing like this interrupt our romance.
So he's gonna mount her and have sex with her in the coffin. They don't show that, of course.
Together.
Here we are 9 months later. His sister wants an incestuous relationship.
I worked for hours to look good for you when you came home.
Thank you.
That's creepy as hell. He finally has enough and decides to kill her. And drown her. This is Grace's grave. Notice something's coming up. And notice that I also said 9 months later. Something has made a mess in Stanley's kitchen. And look to your right. There's a creature in the house. Can you say necrophilia, baby? He then tells her a second story about a guy named Jesse. Jesse's wife is leaving him. Jesse owes a lot of money to some bad people, too.
How long hell do you want?
I'm leaving you, Jesse.
She told the bad guys where to find him, too. They catch him anyway. But guess what? Jesse is not dead. In fact, he's found and rescued by an old man who lives near a swamp.
You almost went to sleep for good.
One night while he's recuperating, he discovers that the old man is doing some sort of ritual. Old man's name is Felder Evans, and he finds an old scrapbook filled with pictures and stuff and newspaper articles.
1871. Remember?
How is he this old?
Got no business doing that.
Oh, sorry about that. Tell me, old timer.
Tell you what.
How do
Well, he wants Felder's secret. And he's willing to kill to get it for himself. He thinks he has some magic water or something that lets him stay alive for 200 years. But he dumps him in the water. He goes back to the house, searches it, can't find anything, and all of a sudden, Felder comes back. I guess you can't kill him. He gave him enough to keep him alive for quite a while.
With you around, I'm not gonna have you in peace. Only problem is I can't kill you.
He left him chopped up in a bag and burned on the side of the road.
Yeah, right. Near total blood loss, massive physical trauma, all the rest. Not only is the man still alive, he seems to be getting stronger. Now, you
Maybe you live another 70 years or more. 70 years.
You know that my niece actually believed that she was on a mission of mercy every time she cut somebody's throat?
He then tells her our third story, which is about a traveling carnival.
window pane.
A carnival which features a glass eater. Our glass eater has a girlfriend named Amaryllis, who's not a carny. That's not looked too highly upon amongst other carnies.
Who was the girl I saw you with? Who saw me? You were Leonard!
That's the woman in charge of the carnival.
For my protection, your freedom. And I have served you well. You take more than you give.
He realizes he can't have a relationship with a girl on the outside.
Well, I knew you were a good person, Stephen. That's why I came back all those times.
Then let me stay a good person and forget about me, please.
Well, he starts to get frisky with her, and all of a sudden,
Oh my God, what's happening?
all the shit that he's been eating,
It's okay. It's okay. I'm okay.
The power to eat glass and metal. And I can take it away. I've done everything you wanted. Not enough. Know that girl and leave this place. And you will know what pain is.
he leaves with her anyway.
Tomorrow we start fresh with a wedding.
But then things start popping out of him. She pays a visit the next day.
Amaryllis, the human fin fisher.
She's joining.
Just in time for the free entertainment of this afternoon.
He then tells the story of somewhat of the town's origins. It goes back to the Civil War. The Civil War has just ended, but these Union soldiers aren't stopping to fight. Well, like I said, the war was over. They killed a couple people anyway. This guy was upset about it, decided to leave and go back home, and he was shot by his own men. That's Cameron Mitchell, by the way. As these last three start their march home,
Who's this?
they get kidnapped by a bunch of orphan kids.
Huh?
We're glad to have you here. Aren't we, everyone?
If you can't say anything nice, then you shouldn't say anything.
These kids are weird. That's an eyeball. Came from him.
Really hurt.
He tells her that he can find some doctors for her if she unties him. She does so, unfortunately, and then she pays for it with her life. Outside, the kids have a collection of arms, severed arms, and they're basically playing piñata on a corpse.
This is what remains of our parents. All that remains from the day big men like you walked into this town and leveled it.
Yes, they obviously recaptured him, and then they burned him to death. This will help purify the town of Oldfield. Back to Vincent Price and Susan Terrell.
I
I first came to know Catherine when she sent me letters from prison.
Apparently Vincent Price's stories poisoned Catherine's mind, caused her to become a murderer, and the reporter takes revenge. That finishes our film. Alright, let's talk about From a Whisper to a Scream. This is a movie that I had on a VHS tape, EP speed, under the title called The Offspring. In fact, once I started taping on VHS instead of beta, this is actually one of the first movies I taped, Offspring. I got it off of cable, I believe. Anyway, it's an anthology film, 4 short stories in here. I don't know if I ever watched this until the 90s, but I've seen it a couple times. And it starts off with Vincent Price. He's a librarian. Susan Tyrrell comes to visit him. She's a reporter. She just witnessed Vincent Price's niece die in the electric chair. So she comes over and he kind of tells her stories about what happened in this town, Oldfield, Tennessee. Apparently the town was cursed or whatever, and that's what caused his niece to go mad. He then tells 4 stories. The first story, Clu Gallagher, about him and his necrophilia and his rheumatism sister. He kills his sister, has sex with this other woman that he kills, and then 9 months later, a baby is born from that necrophilia act, comes out of the grave, and then kills him. Interesting. The second story, what was the second story? Jesse Hardwick, that's right, about a guy in the 1930s or 40s maybe who owed some money to some creditors. He gets shot by some bad guys, and he's discovered by this guy who lives in a swamp. Turns out the guy is like 200 years old. He's an ex-slave. He's got some sort of magic elixir that he uses to keep himself alive and well all these years. Jesse wants it for himself, tries to kill the guy, doesn't work because you can't kill him. Instead, the guy chops Jesse up instead, but he can't kill Jesse because he already gave him some of the elixir. He thinks he's going to live another 70 years or so. So he leaves him chopped up and burned on the side of the road where they take him to a hospital. And then he can't move, he's nothing, and we see him cry actually because he's a burnt up mess. But he's going to live like that for another 7 years or so. Third story was the carnival story where a glass eater falls in love with this woman who's not a carny, and but the leader of this carnival, this woman, some sort of madam or something, she does not allow any sort of outsiders, so he causes all the glass and screws and nuts and bolts that he ate to start coming out of his body anytime he tries to do something with this woman. Well, he leaves anyway because he's in love, and then he pretty much dies. Things start exploding out of his body. The last scene in that one was the girl that he'd fallen in love with is now a human pincushion in the carnival. The last story involves some Civil War soldiers. Cameron Mitchell and his group were from the North. The war was over. They were basically on their way home, but they ran into some soldiers from the South. They killed them for no reason, basically. Then they get kidnapped by a bunch of orphan kids. Apparently these orphan kids are in the South or Tennessee, I guess. And General Sherman had come through, I guess, and all the Union soldiers had basically devastated their town. So they're kind of taking revenge on them. I don't know what the hell was going on that one with, they call it the magistrate. They have their mother and father's severed heads like on a stick, and then they're playing with severed arms, and they're using his torso as a human piñata. Strange. Anyway, they end up burning Cameron Mitchell and killing him, and that's how that story ends. Very last thing is Susan Tyrrell, the reporter. She thinks that Vincent Price's stories have poisoned his niece's mind. He raised the niece, and that's what caused her to become a murderer. She's become friends with the murderer, or I should say the deceased murderer now, and she decides to kill Vincent Price, knifes him to death, and that's how the movie ends. So anyway, horror anthology. I actually enjoyed this one. It's a little long, but you know, anthologies are. It takes a while to tape all those scenes too, because there's a lot of them to do. But I thought it was kind of a fun film. I like the box art there. It's different from the Offspring box art, the VHS was, but there is you can actually flip this around. Scream Factory did a good job with this one, and it looks fantastic. This movie is also available on DVD, although from what I've read, the quality isn't the best, but the Blu-ray is pretty darn good. So I will leave a link to the Blu-ray down below. If you're looking to get this, get it quick, because it is getting a little pricey. A lot of these Blu-rays do happen to have that quality to them. They get out of print, they get pricey, and then you got to pay through the nose to get them. But anyway, check it out, From a Whisper to a Scream. Let me know what you think about it. Leave some comments. Watch it. Bye.